and welcome to Standing By. I'm your host, Kasky Hunsader. This is the show where we talk to the Broadway understudies, standbys, and swings, helping keeping the curtains up every night. We're here at Bartini on Hell's Kitchen, and I'm with my guests, Nikki Bohne and Bettis Richardson from the new production of Bring It On, now playing at the St. James Theater.
We gotta leave behind the world we know. Let's go.
Welcome, guys.
Hi, it's good to be here.
So let's talk about your backgrounds. Nikki, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Utah, and I went to school at BYU in Provo, and I moved out here after I graduated. And a few weeks later, I landed the national tour of Legally Blonde, where I played Elle Woods, where we met. and then I was on the road for about 10 months of that. And then when I finished, I auditioned for Bring It On the musical. And here I am a year later.
So it's been quite the career, whirlwind career right out of school.
Yeah, I mean, it's still fresh and new, but so far it's been really exciting and fulfilling.
Bettis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm a little untraditional. I started going to college for a good few months, and I decided I wanted to go for the arts. It wasn't for me. I completely dropped out. And I went after dancing first. Started dancing on television and for film. Had a great time with that, and I decided, I love to sing. I was on American Idol. By chance, I had friends that sort of, hey, you need to do this. I was like, all right. And I tried it, and I fell in love. I was like, okay, I want to really do this. So for a few years, I just did a lot of television and film, and I moved to LA, and then I auditioned for Bring It On the musical, my first theater go ever.
Yes, tell us a little bit more about American Idol. You actually got
I was
far
on
in that, didn't you?
Second season, yeah. I got to the top 32. It was one of the hardest auditions you can imagine going through. It was grueling, and it instantly just schooled me in the industry and what it's like and how it is to be in front of the camera 24/7 and how to act and how not to act. And it validated me instantly. I didn't go to school and I didn't grow up in the theater, but to go that far that quickly as a singer, you're instantly validated and think, okay, you can sing. So you're like, oh well, thanks, and you sort of use that to sort of fuel where you want to go and sort of as a confidence, I guess, springboard. And it gave me the confidence to walk in any audition, and I'm not nervous in auditions because of just that experience alone. And, after that, I guess I could say nothing's as scary, nothing's as hard to believe or understand anymore. You're like, oh, okay, well, this is what it is.
You were going to Bring It On, is that correct?
I was in the fourth Bring It On movie, dancing in that movie, and that was a great experience. We shot in Orlando for 3 months, right in the theme park, so we got to ride rides, and it was part of the shooting. They would actually shoot us, shoot us riding rides and shoot us tanning.
Not a bad gig.
Oh, it was
not
amazing.
A bad gig.
It was amazing. This is such a great show to be a part of. It's high energy. It's been.
Had you done any theater when you were younger, in high school, or anything like that, or is this a pretty new medium for you?
I tried, but after the first 2 years in high school, our art department was shut down. We lost funding, so I remember auditioning for the lead in Pippin, and I got it, and the whole art department got closed down. It was okay, drama, everything. So I had to deal with that. So before that, I had just danced a little bit, and I was in a chorus line, but I really didn't know what I was doing. My sister was begging me to do it, so I did it. I was like, whatever. I really had no understanding or passion for it yet. I was just doing it.
And Nikki, you're primarily theater, so did you grow up doing a lot of shows in school and things like that?
Yeah, I definitely had to beg my parents at one point to take voice lessons because I grew up very involved with tennis. And my first musical was when I was in 9th grade. I did Brigadoon, and I got the lead role of Fiona. And my mom kind of was like, okay, is this going to get in the way of your tennis? And she came and saw my opening night, and she said she cried from the moment I opened my mouth until the curtain call. She was like, we are going to support you 100% through this whole journey. And they have. And so I've done a lot of musicals, summer stock and regional, and some high school things. Really enjoyed my college experience. I studied music dance theater. And about 2 years into my New York experience and loving it.
Yeah. So making your Broadway debut, your parents are probably looking back on it very glad that you switched over from tennis to a musical theater, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're my number one supports, and they love this, and they love theater. And I catch my dad listening to clips of me just sitting around the house or on the airplane. So they're very proud. They're very excited. Making my Broadway debut is something I've dreamed about my whole life. I remember as a girl sitting in the front row of Seussical the Musical and like thinking, if only I could do that. And so to be here, it's surreal. It's amazing. I feel so blessed and so grateful to literally be living my dreams. Like, it doesn't just happen in Disney. It's like real life too. So it's really quite incredible. And I'm the tennis joke of my family. My little brother can beat me now, so I'm happy that I have something working for me.
Talk to us a little bit about so your first national tour was Legally Blonde, right out of the gate from school. Elle Woods national tour. How was that experience for you?
I mean, I don't think there are words to describe that experience. It was incredible. It was a lot of work, but a lot of growth. I loved the character, I loved the show, and I really invested my whole heart into it. So walking away from that was definitely one of the highlights of my whole life. I feel like a better person because of Elle Woods and because of my cast and because of the experiences we all had together. It was a lot of work, but it was so rewarding, and it was so fulfilling.
Well, you guys have been playing for a little while now. How has the show been going? How excited are you to be on Broadway?
Well, I think audiences are loving it. I mean, how can you not love Girls Flying in the Air and songs by Tom Kitt and Lin-Manuel? It's really an amazing show. I think we all feel very passionate about it and think that it made a lot of great changes when we came here to Broadway. I think it's being very well received, and we're all having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I agree. It's super high energy, so it's very captivating. It's unexpected. That's the best part of it. Everyone, I always get comments from the audience. They're just, it's such a surprise. You go in expecting one thing and you get it, but at the same time you just walk out with such a deeper message and meaning and context, and it's very emotional, and you're not expecting that, which is really fun to see when people can just let their wall down and engage into a show or into a story, into a character, and at the same time be completely entertained with just the wow factor and the visuals and the dancing and the high flying and the tosses that people are just so at times just gasping, but at the same time it's not just about the flash and the flare, which is amazing.
I think that's the unexpected part. Is one, we're doing something that's never been done on Broadway before. We're adding this whole other element, 3D theater almost, and on top of that, we're also telling an amazing story. People love the characters, and they feel for the characters throughout the process. By the end of the show, you're rooting for Campbell and you're rooting for Bridget, and I think it really is touching. So I think that's the element that people don't expect. It's actually a really great musical, and then it has this. So I mean, how can you not love it?
Bring It On has taken a kind of non-traditional path to Broadway. So you guys have been on tour for almost a year now. What's it like doing that versus opening a show on Broadway and that being the first place you are?
We made changes on the road. We made changes coming to Broadway. I think our tour was basically an extended out-of-town tryout. No, it was the perfect opportunity for our creative team and our director to see how different audiences responded to the show, to see the changes we needed to make, so that when it did come to Broadway, it was something that was it was it. It was the final product. Yeah. And they were able to see what worked and what didn't, so that when it came to Broadway, it was what audiences wanted to see, and it was what audiences deserved to see on Broadway.
There's over 20 people making their Broadway debuts, which is very unusual for a Broadway show.
I think it's 32 people.
Is it 32 people?
I think we set a new record. Yeah.
So how is the cast feel? I mean, it's a very different dynamic than is normally done on Broadway, because most of the time, if you're in a Broadway show, it's a rare event that there's debuts. It's only a few people, but practically your whole cast.
Yes, I could definitely say we're more than you would believe. Everyone's humbled. Everybody's very thankful and blessed, and just accepting this with open arms, and just riding the ride and respecting the fact that it doesn't come that easy. It's really hard to get into Broadway, to get on Broadway. And then the fact that we have this show, and certain people come in catered with a specific skill, but everyone in the show has to sing, everyone has to dance, everyone has to cheer and stunt, everyone. It doesn't matter. So it's a really interesting thing to see such a high energy, such a fresh energy. For me, it's new. I might have done a lot of TV and film, but it's still new to do theater and live shows every night. Even though it's been a year on the road, Broadway's a whole new beast, a whole new monster, and I feel like everyone's learning and growing together and loving it. And we have these bonds like it or not, we all have these like set bonds with each other. And we're all growing as a family, a tight family, and we fight.
Being on the road does that.
Yes.
So much more than a Broadway
and it
show.
really brought us together, and I really do think that that's like what makes our show so special, is like the youthful energy about it, and the fact that we're combining worlds, you know, people
Yes.
from TV and film and cheerleading and the musical theater realm, we all are coming together to create a product that we believe in. And I think that's the energy and the spirit that like our show brings to Broadway, and I think that's what makes us so unique.
We will be right back after a break with Nikki Bohne and Bettis Richardson from Bring It On the Musical. Welcome back to Standing By. I'm Caskey Hunsader, and I'm talking with Nikki Bohne and Bettis Richardson from Bring It On the Musical. Let's talk about the show specifically and your involvement. So, Nikki, you're a standby. Tell us what roles you cover.
I cover Campbell, Ava, Skylar, and Kylar.
So, a lot of ladies.
Yes.
A lot of principal ladies.
A lot of Truman ladies, yeah.
Are you in the ensemble as well, or you strictly just cover those principals?
No, I'm a strict standby.
Bettis, who do you cover? What is your role in the show?
I'm in the ensemble, and I cover 3 principals at the same time. I cover Stephen. Who else do I cover? I cover Stephen, Randall, and La Cienega. Yeah, so
And that's the transgendered character.
Yes.
So you get to wear heels, correct?
I do, and makeup and a wig. It's interesting.
And we actually got to go on together. He
Yeah.
played La Cienega when I went on for Campbell in Toronto.
Yes, that
So
was
we
my
kind of-
first time. So that was very interesting. It was fun.
Very exciting.
Very
So,
fun.
talk to us about Bettis, about being in the show every night, but still having to keep all those tracks in your head. How do you manage that and keep everything fresh so that you're ready to go on when needed?
I can say I'm glad I took on the challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges I've ever had so far. Like, it's an interesting thing. It's already hard enough to like learn someone's track and stay, you know, on their, I guess their feed, their line when you're not on stage. But being on stage, there's more than half the track that you never see because you can't. You're always engaged in the moment on stage doing what you're doing with your character. You know, it's a different monster being on stage. It's a different
nothing
monster.
like, going
Once-
on stage and like
Once you're on
walking
that
through the
stage,
traffic
you know,
and-
yeah, being told this is where they stand, it doesn't matter. Like, what matters is what's on stage.
See, the hardest part is probably not the lines or
No.
the loud note you're singing or whatever. It's the like you're walking off stage and there's someone walking this way and you're like, do I go downstage or upstage or downstage or up? And then you're like, I'm just gonna decide and go. And you know it's those little things that
I would say with this show, it's very interesting though, because with all the flipping and stunting, it's much more complex. Like
Yeah.
you really have to know where to
know
go.
where to go so you don't run into a tumbling pass.
Yes, or you know, a stunt that's flying over you. You know, so it gets. We have that. I guess the ensemble's really good at, especially when someone's in for a new track. We're really good at guiding each other through if there's any issues or
Yeah.
doubts on any spacing or traffic.
So, Nikki, talk to us about now. We've heard what it's like to be in the show every night.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the standby. You're not in the show every night, but you're focused on 4 lead girls. So how does that differ from being out there dancing and being in a show every single performance?
Well, I do have the advantage of being able to watch the tracks every single night. I don't have the advantage of like knowing exactly where they are on stage, but I do take very thorough notes and spend a lot of time on my own practicing, so that when the time does come, that I have a good idea for what it is.
And everything. Nikki, in previews, you went on as Campbell for the very first preview. And how was that?
There are no words. There are no words. Yeah, I found out about 11:30 the night before our first preview, which was a 1 o'clock matinee. And I surprisingly got some sleep that night. I don't know how. But it was definitely a whirlwind experience. They shoved costumes and wigs on me while the stage manager was reading lines. And I remember going on for that first time and like starting that opening position and being like, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. And you know what? It was surprisingly calm. Like, it was, I knew I had the support of the cast and our director and the creative team. I was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And
Now,
after...
do you remember going on, or was it pretty much a blur?
It was pretty much a blur. I remember walking on for the first time, and then I remember coming off stage to like the entire cast just there to support me. And it was, I will never forget that experience. And I was like, I'm going to have to prove to myself that I can do this.
What are some of the challenges in maintaining all 4 characters, in repertoire in your head so that you can be ready to go on for any of them at a moment's notice?
Well, there are definite challenges, because 1 minute I'll be doing Skylar, and then I'll have to flip a gear and then run on for Campbell, and you definitely have to I have a color code in my script. Every girl has a different color. So I see Campbell and she's pink, and so I'll be like, okay, flip to pink, or flip to blue, and so you learn your own process. All of us have a different process as to how we learn things or how we maintain it. I sing through the show almost every single day, every character that I do, and then I just consistently Olive Torn, Bettis will attest to this. I wasn't a very good standby as far as reading a book or watching a movie on my spare time. I was always on deck or in the house or taking notes. I never let the show not be the first priority. And sometimes, I'm sure I could have taken a break, or I could have it might have even been better for me to take some time off from the show. But I loved being a part of the cast, and I loved sitting off stage, and I think that also helped me maintain the characters.
I'm a very visual person, so I actually do the same thing. I color code everything, and funny enough, I feel one of the characters easily manifests itself. Doing a transgender role, you put on a wig, makeup. That's nothing I would ever wear, ever. So once it goes on, it physicalizes itself. So for me, I just let the train go, and just where it goes, it goes. The character sort of has its own stance and its own legs, and you don't have to try. With the other two, it's harder for me to jump from being one boyfriend to the other, because it's or technically, she's in this position where she's going from one side and one relationship to another.
I think it's fun. I think if anything, it's fun to push your personality to different levels, and to be able to experiment with different beats and different characters and different personality traits with each one of them. I have a lot of fun, and I have a lot of fun exploring and making Nikki be Skylar, making Nikki be Kylar, Campbell, or Ava, or whoever it is. We have a lot of fun.
How much leeway does the creative team allow you in terms of doing the role? How much do you borrow from the girls who regularly play the roles?
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
There is a balance. There is a balance between going on and being a carbon copy of somebody, and then there's also a balance of taking it completely in the opposite direction. I think because I cover 4 people, there's no way I can be a carbon copy of all 4 of those people. But I take into account what their beats are. I listen to the notes that the creative team gives to my characters specifically, and what is important that they think that is going to help the story. And I take those, and then I make them Nikki. And so when I go on stage, I think my Campbell is very Nikki, and it's very different. But I think that's what makes the performance great. You definitely are aware of what's important in order to make the show work. But then you also make it your own, because I think that's what makes a good performance, is putting your heart and your soul into it.
I agree with that. I mean, for me, aesthetically, I just look different than everyone I cover. So there's just having a different skin tone. It's just naturally going to read and feel different for everyone else on stage, and I allow that to be my difference. And same thing, you don't want to go out and copy, because at that point it's not emotionally driven, it's not real. You're just copying. So you sort of have to stick true to the character and the storyline first and foremost. As long as that's there, everyone's a different person, and you can't hide that. So you let yourself shine through, and it actually has a cool vibe and a cool feel, because everybody on stage sometimes loves that, because they get a little bit of a difference, but it's still the same story. Yeah, still the same story, still the same everything. It just has a different energy. So it's exciting sometimes for everyone that is consistent at that night. Or if there's 2 different swings or standbys or understudies on, it's interesting to see how everything goes. It all works the same.
We know the story, we know the end goal, and we all just take that into account and then make it our own.
What would you say, Bettis? What is your favorite moment in the show? Can you even narrow it down that?
I'm allowed to do that. I'm very emotional myself, and I would say there's a moment where Bridget gets her feelings hurt by her friend, and she shows it. And for me, it's a gut, heart-wrenching moment where I literally tear every night. I've seen it 100 times, and it hurts to hear, because it's so real, so genuine. We've all had that friend that's gone too far. I just feel that it's so powerful to have that moment night after night, after seeing it 100-something times through rehearsals and being on stage with the show. it's interesting. It's so intense to be able to have that same moment and to have that same feeling every night. And for me, that's my favorite part. That's my favorite moment in the show.
I think right now there's a new song that Campbell sings in the first act that it's kind of her like I want song, and I think I really identify with that one, and I love singing it. I think it's beautiful. I think the message is amazing, and I really do think that it adds like an extra layer on Campbell's character as far as like her dreams and aspirations and how hard she works to get where she's at, and that's something that I really identify with, is like that one perfect moment, and like having putting in all the work and then wanting to accomplish something and wanting to like have that dream come true, and that's essentially what I'm doing right now, and so it's kind of something that definitely hits home, and definitely a moment that I love in the show.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank my guests Nikki Bohne and Bettis Richardson from Bring It On the Musical, now playing on Broadway at the St. James Theater. Check out bringitonmusical.com for more information. It's playing through October 7th. For more information about this show, please check out Standing By TV and join us as we bring up the curtain on another episode of Standing By.